in order for your marriage to get worse, all you have to do is nothing. Sit back and do nothing. And over time, it will progressively get worse. Well, why is that? Because of two reasons. In order for things to get better, it requires attention and intention. So lean into today, grab a pen and paper, take some notes, and I'm excited to have my wife, Ashley, of 23 years, to share with us some of the strategies that we found helpful to implement into our marriage so we could win together as a couple, because the Bible does say a house divided falls. We don't want that. We want to win together as a couple. Mm-hmm. Ashley, my wife, thank you for being on the show today. The first strategy is it's really more of a mindset that we're a team together. Mm-hmm. So share a little bit about that with us. Elaborate on how you discovered this one and what that means, that we're on a team, and why that's important.
If I remember right, somebody gave us that advice, didn't they?
Probably.
A really long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's just short and sweet. You're on the same team. You are not enemies. And we have to remind ourselves that in arguments, like we are husband and wife. We are one. We are stuck together. And we've got to figure things out. You actually really do love me and I love you.
Yeah.
In difficult times. So we just work it out as a team. And stop trying to fight each other all the time.
That's good. And just go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, that's it.
To me, it's a reminder that we're in this together. You are not my enemy. We're for each other. Sometimes just that reminder is helpful for me, even though it seems like that's pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's easy to forget in the moment of anger.
Yeah.
Frustration.
Get caught up in the emotions. Now, you were on the high school swim team. You have much more of an athletic background than myself. So as a former athlete, I'm curious, when you think of a team, what are some aspects of a team that somebody that doesn't have an athletic background may not know? Because when I think of team and you think of team, we could think of something different.
So we just work together. And when something isn't working or we need to improve an area, we think of a game plan. We practice it. You practice it. So, and you get better at it with practice. Like arguments, you get better at it. You're not so immature like you were in the beginning. You get a little better at fighting.
That's the goal. It's like rules of engagement. I remember in my younger years, when I was much more, I would say I let my emotions as an 18, 19-year-old, maybe even in my 20s, much more determine my behavior. I remember when we first moved in together, the first little one-bedroom duplex, if I didn't get my way about something, it was like I was a grown-up kid and I would throw a fit. I would slam the door on my way out of the house just to prove a point.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Why'd I share that?
I don't know.
Full transparency, I guess. So strategy number one is...
Well, you don't slam doors anymore.
Well, yeah, progress. It's about progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank God that was prior to having kids, and so we don't have to help them navigate that.
There's a lot of things that, we still can work on.
Right.
But there's things that we have worked on, like you slamming doors and me hopping in the car and leaving. You hated that.
Oh, 100%. I don't remember you doing that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I've done it a time or two.
Okay.
And I think I got that from my dad. He used to just leave.
Yeah.
Like, where'd Dad go?
He went on a walk.
On the a 20-mile walk.
Yeah.
He'll come back at bedtime. But yeah, and I remember you sitting me down like, hey, no, like stay here, work it out,
Yeah.
And so I haven't done that in a really long time. So
well, I'm glad about it. It's fight or flight, right?
There's flight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I got wings. I got wheels.
Right. And I'm more of like, let's talk through it. No, we're not going to bed. Like, let's stay awake and figure this out and resolve it. Yeah.
It's a lot of bad habits when we first moved in together. Mine was I shut down, don't talk to you.
Yeah.
Which was your punishment, I guess. But also, I reflected a lot, I thought a lot, and I needed to do that so I didn't say anything stupid. And and then you always chase me around the house like, "Come on, let's talk. Come on, let's go." And we
Yeah,
still can do that, we still do that sometimes,
that's
but
true.
yeah. But I know I'm self-aware and I know what I need to work on still.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
So the important part is really to embrace the mindset that we're a team together. We're not against each other. We're actually on the same team. I think that's an important one.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts on that one before we move to pray when frustrated, strategy number 2?
No.
I feel like this pray when frustrated, this is one that I feel like you have a strength in.
Right.
Okay, so
Do
elaborate
you
a little.
pray when you're frustrated?
I mean, not, I don't think anywhere close to, that is not my first instinct, I'll be honest. For me, it's like sometimes my struggle is I keep prayer in my back pocket. It's like, okay, I'll get to that if I can't figure it out myself.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
good you're being honest. Um, and that prayer isn't always my first thing. It should be.
yeah.
But yeah, when I can't, what is it? What's our title?
It's about praying when frustrated.
Oh, okay. So when I'm frustrated with you and you're not hearing me out
Yeah,
and you're all caught up in your emotions, I will go. There are several times where I've just gone to God, like, Lord, show me where I'm wrong. And a lot of times he doesn't show me anything. And then, and then I go, and then I say, Lord, soften his heart, calm him down,
yeah.
speak to him, because he knows how to speak to you better than I know how to speak to you, especially when I'm frustrated. So many times, countless times. And of course, you have to have a soft heart and you have to be listening to the Lord. You have to be open to listening to the Lord. So many times you'll come to me not long after I pray, and you'll be very soft and gentle, and you will apologize and humble yourself, and I always give glory to God, credit to God, like, and it makes me want to come to
Hmm.
God every single time.
What does it mean to have a soft heart?
Not a hard, cold heart,
Okay.
ready to fight,
Okay, like
mad,
defensive,
anger. Yeah,
irritated. Okay,
yeah, like,
got it.
yeah, like Pharaoh. He hardened his heart, and um, he's always saying no, no, because
Yeah,
his heart was hard. And I just ask him to soften your heart in the moment and
yeah.
make you realize my perspective, how I feel about it, and it always works. Praying.
So if somebody's out there and they're like, I've heard of prayer, I don't really know where to start. It seems overwhelming. What would be a next step they could take to lean more into prayer?
It's just talking to God like you would a friend.
Hmm.
Instead of going to that friend in that heated moment, or your mother, or whoever, an outsider of your marriage, go to God. Tell God what you'd tell that friend. Just be open and honest with God and how you feel.
Hmm.
It's just a conversation.
That's good. So prayer is simply talking.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
that's good.
Yeah.
So when it
The
when
thing about God, though, is he has power. Your mom doesn't. Your friend doesn't. Your God has power. So God, he knows how to speak to you. Yeah.
going to the source, who could
Mhm.
actually do something about it
Right.
to gain
Yeah.
some traction and
Mhm.
progress. Yeah. When I think about praying when frustrated, I think it was a year or two ago, so more on the recent side, where this idea of God as a counselor, that he will give us wisdom and counsel for every area of my life. So one of the things that's intriguing to me, it's like putting together IKEA furniture or putting together anything. I despise it, as you
I'm
know.
so bad at it.
Right. Thank God for your dad because he's good at putting stuff together.
I'm good at it too.
Yeah.
You just always have bags of extras.
Yeah, extras, right? Because 3 out of 4 screws is
So
still
sweet of him.
75%. That's still a D minus.
Yeah.
It's passing. So I'm not allowed to put things together, and I'm thankful for that. And my point is when I think about praying when frustrated, what's intriguing to me, back to the instructions in the IKEA furniture, is like going back to the creator, the person who created the product. I could see where in
Mm,
my mind that makes a lot of sense.
mm, that's good.
And so for me, it's like, okay, God created everything, including me and us and other people. I really believe that. Therefore, surely he knows what to do. Like he will give me the Bible calls it wisdom, applied knowledge. He will actually give me insight and revelation, and he is my present help in my time of need. So when I think about praying when frustrated, for me, it's very much like a practical gaining traction and actually getting unstuck and getting some help. However, I do have a tendency to wait until I don't see how to figure it out myself before I'm like, hey, God, will you give me some wisdom or insight?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still
Well,
working on that.
self-aware.
That's right. Well, all transformation starts with awareness. So awareness is a good next step for sure. So that the third strategy, okay, to clarify, the second strategy is praying when frustrated. And the next strategy is remember our spouse is human and they have their own past of hurts and pains and things to overcome in their own life. How come that one's important to you?
Because I've realized that anger from you or I, it can come from somewhere else.
Mm,
It can be something so small, and you're like, "What in the world? Why are you reacting like that?" And so you have to dig deeper. So a lot of times I'll say, "What's really going on?" What's
yeah,
what's really the root of the issue? It's not. I don't feel like it's this. It's something else.
yeah.
And or it could be like a lot of things, like over time, just snowballing, and then one little thing just sets you off or me off, and it's just like, what's really going on? Oh, I haven't taken time for myself, or finances are tight, or I just feel out of control with my parenting and we're not on the same page as parenting, or um my mom used to do this, and I'm seeing it in you.
Mhm.
Just, we all have a past, we
Yeah,
all have challenges, from our childhood,
sure.
and subconsciously it can trigger things in us, you know
Mhm.
you know and we're not even aware.
Yeah, good call. And it's amazing to me that, like, out in the marketplace, out in public, it's like there's so much grace and patience and long suffering. And yet, for me, my challenge is within my own household. There's times where the people that I should be the most gracious and patient towards, I could find myself having a short fuse.
Yeah, we're just comfortable and we think, oh, that person's gonna love me no matter what.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though that may be true, that's not a right to disrespect and
Yeah, it's
take out
not.
anger and frustration
Mhm.
on the people that love us most just because they're committed to always being there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can appreciate this one because just being mindful of the fact that we have two different perspectives. Yes, we have different pasts and we have different like we have the same values, and yet we have different perspectives in life. There's even some things that you value a little bit more or differently
Mhm.
than I do. And so just being mindful that it doesn't always have to be my way or the highway and I'm not always right. And that once again that we're in this together. It's amazing how just being mindful of those things can help me pivot when the pressure's on, when I get caught up in my emotions. And I think for me, one of the things I've found helpful is like being out in nature, especially going on
Mm.
a run. I have a high amount of energy. And
Mhm.
so for me to go out there and run, swim, or bike or do something physically where I'm putting my body in motion, it's amazing how much. I mean, I could think back over the past year or two, and there's so many times where I come home after thinking on going on a run or whatever. And I'm like, hey, I was thinking about what I said or what I did. And, I really missed the mark. I dropped the ball there. It's like for me, physically doing something with my body helps my mind think through things.
Yeah, that's true. I get that.
Yeah.
Why they say exercise,
I think there's
get
a lot to
outside.
that. Yeah. And
Mhm.
just carving out time to think through things.
Mhm. And you can be more short with us in the home. And
Hmm.
I'm speaking for myself too,
Sure.
because we haven't exercised, take care of ourselves, or took that time to think.
Yeah.
you know? And so something small can come up and we can explode because we haven't done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
My friend, I've had him numerous times on the show, David Higginbottom from Texas. One of the things that he's taught me that if the reaction is significantly bigger than what happened,
It
to where it's
doesn't
just like,
match. It
whoa,
doesn't match up.
yeah, it's like what would be an illustration where like somebody spills some water and somebody completely goes off and way overreacts? Well, obviously there's more going on, and it's not so much about the water. One of my sayings that I like around this that I heard that I picked up is that circumstances don't make the man, they reveal himself to himself. And so whether you call it triggers or whatever you want to call it, when circumstances happen, also known as when things don't go my way, I need to pay attention to how I respond in those moments when things don't go my way, because that actually reveals to me what's going on a heart level. Another way to put it is if you take a orange juice and you squeeze it, what's going to come out?
Juice.
Orange juice, right? Point is when life squeezes us, whether it's a disagreement with our spouse, something at work, finances, whatever it is, you pick your thing. Whenever the squeeze is on, the pressure is on, what's on the inside of me is going to come out. So if what comes out, if it's anger and all of this other stuff, I just need to be aware of like, oh, that's what's going on in my heart. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful that it's about progress, not perfection. And I have it on, I can see it over there. Your sister made that for me after an Ironman. It's not about the destination, it's the journey. So I would say to somebody out there, like if you find yourself where you're not proud of how you've acted recently or in the past, like decide to doing better. And at the end of today, we're going to share some of the resources, some of the podcast books and things that we've found helpful over the years. So I just want to encourage you, be patient with yourself and yet be fully committed to change. Don't use I'm on the journey as an excuse to keep doing the same thing over and over, because it's about making progress, not the insanity cycle of the same thing day after day. We want to break that cycle.
Apologies go a long way, but action speaks louder than words.
100%.
I tell that to my kids all the time.
Yeah. And I like to mention that we're in Missouri. We're outside of Kansas City, Missouri. And Missouri it says on our license plate, the show me state. And so it's one thing to give lip service. That's cheap. That's easy. It's easy to say all the right things. But especially what our family members are paying attention to is change. Show me state. Do something differently. We don't want to hear you talk about it. We want to see you be about it. Yeah. So the next strategy is going to be to ask God to show and remind you of who your spouse really is from his perspective and the love that he has for him. It's a little lengthy. Would you unpack that a little bit for us?
I just remember years ago, I was like, I have a man. I have a human being, a man.
That's right. That's some good news right there. You're welcome.
That lives with me
Yeah.
and loves me and is for me. And God created him just for me. Like, you are my man.
That's right.
But you're also God's son. And I have to remind myself, you are God's son. And in those difficult moments where it's hard to love you, I have to ask God, tell me about your son again? Tell me what you love about him. Tell me what you see in him so I can see it again. So I can be reminded who he is. So then I can remind myself and I can remind you, So
that's a good word.
Yeah.
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 Anything else that you'd like to elaborate on that one?
No, that's pretty much it. I just go to God. Remind me who my husband is and remind me how blessed I am that this human being, wants to spend the rest of his life with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. One of the things that's helpful for me that I think of is that in my mind, you deserve the best. Now, some people use that as a lame excuse, right? We've seen that in TVs and heard the stories where it's like, oh, we better part ways. You deserve so much better and more and all of that stuff. And yet for me, I think like you really deserve the best. Therefore, Jesus, will you help me be the best me possible? And I don't use that as an out.
Oh, that's good.
And bow out of commitment and bow out of marriage. I say, no, Jesus, will you help me be better? Because surely, what God brings together, let no man separate, no man separate is what the Bible says. So help me become who I need to be to love her well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like an invitation from God to level up and become the type of person that you deserve. It's an invitation that I accept. It's a challenge. Yeah.
I've been listening to Grant Cardone's wife, like I just shared with you, and she was saying that she's not settling for her husband. She's not, what did she say? She's not content for him
Mm,
to be stagnant. She, what? Forgot the words that she used. But basically, she's always growing, he's always growing. She's not going to settle for who he is right now. Cuz
man.
she's encouraging him to be better
Yeah,
and
that's powerful.
be a better man,
Yeah,
and she's not going to settle for just stagnant. She said that stinks.
that's
Stagnant
so
stinks.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is it about her? Like when you think about, I just found out a little bit ago that you've been listening to her. I'm not
I've
super.
only been listening to her for a few
Yeah.
days.
What is? Can you put your finger on it? Like, okay, what is it? What is it about her and her message that relates to you? You may have just said it.
Well, yeah, that. I just shared it on my stories about how, like, stand behind your man.
Yeah.
And that's not weak. It's actually very powerful to be the woman in the background,
Yeah.
which is what I feel a lot because you're always out there in the light, which I'm fine being in the background. I'm an introvert. But a lot of why you do what you do
Uh huh.
and why you're so good is because of me.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give myself credit because I'm that pillar for you. I hold you up,
Sure.
and you do those things to impress me, to please me, to provide for me, protect us. And I love that. And I love standing behind you,
Yeah.
and letting you go in the spotlight.
One of the things that over the years is becoming increasingly important to me that fires me up is figuring out what it is you desire in life. And then it's like, okay, if it's a house on acreage like we live, like whatever that dream and vision is, for me to figure out what does business and what do my actions have to look like in order to provide that. So if there were an unlock that I've discovered, it is figuring out what you're passionate about and what's important to you, and then figuring out from business and who I am how to make that happen for you. For me, that lights a fire underneath me. That's one of those things where I wish I would have understood that sooner. Because for so many years, it's like, I'm 42 years of age. I'm getting ready to be 42 years of
Hmm.
age now. And
You keep saying
I know
42,
it's
but that's in
crazy.
December.
I still have almost a whole
So
year.
bask in the 41 first.
100%. Yeah,
Stop
I guess it's
pushing
me preparing
42.
myself for it.
Ugh.
Point is that that's one of those things that I wish I would have understood at a young age, because the more immature version of me, just self-centered. It's about me. What is it I want? High priority on self, and being 41, being together 23 years, having a 20-year-old in college, so on and so forth.
That's crazy.
For me, I'm realizing now more than ever that my life is actually about serving others. And I know that sounds super basic and elementary, but I just feel like that just means something different on a heart level now to me.
Well, it's a blessing to be a blessing.
It
And
is.
it makes us feel good.
And I like that you're not stagnant either. I like that you have expectations and that you don't get complacent, because sometimes people are like, oh, I'm doing slightly better than average, and they just become okay with being mediocre. And I'm not wired that way, and it's probably just the driver that there's still some brokenness or whatever. But the point is I'm glad that, number one, you know me, and number two, that you inspire me to keep leveling up and not be complacent.
Which is interesting.
Hmm.
I do have seasons where I'm stagnant, though. And you push me. You swirl the water.
Yeah. What do you mean?
That just came to me. It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
It's like a Disney movie,
Yeah.
Witch's Brew or something, whatever that is.
Yeah, but I'm not poisonous. It can be
Yeah.
poisonous being stagnant. But yeah, you just push me. What's your goals this year?
Yeah.
What have you been dreaming of? What have you been thinking of? Those annoying questions that you do.
Yeah.
What have you been reading on? And then I feel really dumb, like, oh, I haven't been reading anything.
Hey,
Or
but over the past few
lazy.
years, you got these lady friends that are like, you guys level up together.
Yeah, I love my
You guys,
friends.
hey, let's give Natalie a shout out. What's her,
Yeah.
does she have a YouTube channel?
A YouTube channel?
Yeah. What is it? Flourish?
Yeah, she has Flourish.
Does she have a
I think she's
podcast
on
channel?
YouTube.
Oh,
She's been on podcasts.
yeah.
But yeah, she has a Flourish. It's about encouraging women and homeschool. Doesn't have to be homeschoolers, just encouraging moms and wives, and I go to pretty much all of them. So if you ever want to see me and you need
Okay.
somewhere to sit by me.
Hey, shout out to Natalie. We're going to share the link of her next event because she has one coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And so we'll share the link where somebody can sign up, whether you live in the Kansas City area or not. It'd be worth checking out. You know, we had an interesting experience today. I shared at I was doing a keynote speech for our keynote talk for a group of business owners in Shawnee, Kansas earlier today. And we was breaking apart the camera and when we were done and packing up our bags and stuff. And this guy came over and I could tell like he had something serious on his heart to share just because he was, you know how it is, people come up and they want to say, you know, appreciate you and all this stuff, share what they got out of your talk. And yet I could tell like he was being serious. And I'm so used to people, like I just assumed he had a question where he wanted more of my wisdom and insight. And I was actually surprised that he essentially asked for permission to turn to you because he didn't have a question for me. He had a question for you.
Yeah.
That was a special moment. I'm gonna journal about that one.
Yeah, it was nice.
And this young man out of vulnerability shared about he went through a divorce 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago.
And you could just
Have
tell
two
it was
little boys.
yeah, wow. And he noticed the reason why he came over to my wife and asked my wife Ashley a question is because he noticed how she was looking at me and responding to my jokes even when nobody else in the room.
I was behind the camera.
Yeah, she was
in the background.
yeah. But he took notice of not even anything that I said or she said, but how she was looking at me and paying attention to me. And I thought, man, that's pretty special right there.
He made a joke. He made a joke about how he's not smiling with his teeth.
Oh yeah, from 2007.
Yeah, he's like, I hated my smile. My teeth were jacked up, and everybody's like, and I'm like, you know, I'm like, oh, that was kind of loud.
Yeah.
But it's like, but that guy noticed, and
Yeah, he did.
That's just proof that the way you live your life, the way you, like, you don't have to get up there and preach. People are paying attention when you don't know they're paying attention.
Yeah.
And so he's like, 23 years you've been together, and then Chris was vulnerable, and you shared all your flaws and mistakes in life. And that wasn't all of them. It was a short list.
Yep.
And he was vulnerable and shared that. And so people saw where Chris failed, but they also saw his wins, which was being together 23 years. And here I was 23 years later, cracking up at your jokes and your comments, smiling and supporting you.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was wondering why, how, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He essentially was like, what caused you to stay with him through all of that?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a very valid question.
Yeah.
How did you reply? It led to one of the things that we've already touched on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you want to share that? Reiterate
Basically, prayer.
Yeah.
Prayer. You know, there's other things. Our story is messy. I've been through a lot, but I always turn to God. Always prayer. You know, when I had nobody, like you call God counselor, that's what I call God counselor. Great counselor. He was free. I saved a lot of money just going to him.
Yeah.
And he walked me through every season, every situation, what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do. And we're sitting here and we are a miracle. And I give God the glory.
Yeah.
I really do. We would not be sitting here without God. So I just easy, simple answer, God.
Yeah.
And people were like, dang it, I wish you just had, you know, tell me what to do.
That's good. And I think, you know, I would encourage where if somebody's out there listening and they're in a spot relationally with someone where it's like, they just feel like they're at a place where they're about ready to give up. I would encourage you to continue praying. Now, you know much more about this than me. However, the Bible actually talks about praying and fasting. Is there a book that's been helpful?
Well,
on that? Just curious.
A good one I can think of that I read a long time ago, and it was really good. Praying Wife.
Okay.
I don't remember who it's by.
Well, that's a simple title.
Very common.
Yeah.
Author.
That's good.
A Praying Wife. Every day there's a prayer and things to reflect on about your husband. It's really good.
So the last one, the fifth strategy, we're going to unpack that here in a moment, and yet there's a handful of books. There's 3 in particular, maybe 4, that we're going to share. So let's go ahead and finish the 5th strategy. And it says, focus on your own shortcomings, not theirs. It reminds me of the Bible talking about the speck of sawdust in my eye.
Yeah.
Or the plank in my eye. And, I'm going after I have a plank in my eye, and you have a speck of sawdust in yours, and I'm trying to point out your sawdust with a log in my own.
Yeah, you can't even see.
Yeah. So unpack that one a little bit for us about focusing on our own shortcomings instead of our spouses.
Yeah, it's easy to focus on what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
All these things, and then I'm trying to control you to change all that. And really, I just need to change myself and focus on myself. Because I got a whole list of things I could change and put my energy and focus on myself and bettering myself. And then I'll have a different perspective on what you're doing, and it's not going to bother me, because I know myself, I'm working on myself. And so my focus and energy is on that, not you, and when I'm bettering myself, then therefore you want to better yourself.
Yeah.
And things don't really bother me as much as they would if I'm focusing on you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Is there any more that you want to unpack on that one?
No, you want to say something?
Well, I can think about, you're phenomenal. I told you earlier.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I told you earlier. I don't think I've ever said this to you out of 23 years. I told you earlier in the kitchen a few hours ago, I said, you make everything better. That's just what I've been thinking about since you coming into the meeting with me earlier today. It's like when you're there, it's just better when you're there. The reason that's important to me is as better as you make everything, in my opinion, there was a time in our relationship where I was being critical, meaning all of these little bitty things I was just stacking them up and getting bitter, resentful, getting hard-hearted. Essentially becoming a jerk and being able to justify becoming a jerk because I was pointing my finger saying, oh, well, you leave water on the kitchen counter, like all of these stupid nitpicky things. And so one of the books that really helped change my mindset around that, it's this. There's a movie around it as well, and we watched it several years ago. I pulled this one off the bookshelf. So first book recommendation, and I'll put the link in the descriptions to make it easy for you, but it's called The Love Dare. One of the things I love about The Love Dare is that each day it gives you a challenge to focus on the good in the person. The Bible says that every good and perfect gift is from God. And now one of the things that's mission critical to me, meaning so important, is finding the good in you, finding the good in our kids and in others, because it's so easy to focus on all the other junk and yet find the good. So if somebody's looking for a practical guide of how to move their mindset from being critical, picking out all the flaws and being nitpicky, to focusing on the positive things that their spouse or loved one does, this book, Love Dare, gives you daily practical steps. It's going to give you some homework in order to pull it off.
It's not easy. Like, say your husband's a jerk, and this is telling you to do nice things to him, you know? But, it's worth a try.
Yeah.
You have to try everything,
That's
number one's the prayer.
Well, that's good. When you don't know what works, just try it all.
Yeah.
Right? Keep going.
I hate when people say, oh, we tried everything, so we got divorced.
Yeah, that's a silly statement. Have you really tried everything? Everything? 100% of everything? Yeah. No, I don't think so. And I'm flipping through this right now, and it looks like there's 40 days. So I love it. It's like a 40-day challenge to find the good.
That's a big commitment.
It is. Okay, so this is my resource. What's a resource that you have? It could be a book that we have here, a podcast.
I do like this book. I remember when my sister and her husband, I remember when we read this, I recommended it to my sister and her husband.
Yeah.
Her husband's not much of a reader, not to call him out or anything, but so he didn't read his book, but she read hers and she loved it. She really loved it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Not every husband is willing to read. Not every couple's like us. There's different situations, different personalities.
Sure.
So, but we're just sharing what's worked for us.
That's right.
In the last 23 years.
Well, and then it's 2025, right? So if you don't like to read, that's okay. They make audiobooks. Okay, you don't like audiobooks either? Perfect. They make podcasts.
Oh,
Okay, great.
darn.
You
No
don't like podcasts?
excuses.
They make videos on YouTube. You don't like those? You can hire counselors. Like, so I would say,
Dang it. You have
don't get
solution.
hung up in whether or not you want to carve out time to read and all of that. You don't have to. What we're saying is find something, resource yourself. We live in a day and age where there's so much information. Just find what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Right.
it's just meeting up with somebody over coffee as a friend that's a mentor,
An elderly
that's
that
a
you look
few
up to.
decades older, right?
Yeah.
Not somebody to
This is a
gossip.
good marriage.
There you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Yep. So with that book, there's a strategy in order to do that where you swap them. Do you want to get into that?
So this is for women only. So, so you read? Do you read this one?
Yeah. So there's a for women only and for men only. And so what it is I would read the one that's called for women only. I would read the one about guys. And I would highlight, underline, cross out, and I would customize that book and make it to where it's talking about me.
Mhm.
Meaning if it says, most guys like to go in the basement and watch sports with their buddies,
That's
that's
not
not my thing. So I
Yeah.
would cross that out
Mhm.
and then maybe circle that, most guys' love language is physical touch. I might highlight that
Yours
one.
is like
circle it.
touch, touch,
100%. Let's not get
touch.
carried away, dear. And yet, what you could do is you could customize that book for your spouse and then have them read it.
Yeah, so it was fun to
Yeah.
see what was truly important to me. Because there's some things in here I'm like, that's not like, I'm not a big talker,
Yeah,
in the
that's true.
relationship. And it's like, oh, women talk, all the time. They need you to listen. And I'm just like, no, that's not me. I
Yeah,
kind of fall more towards a guy, really.
I think
Act
I
like a
actually
guy.
talk more. So let's go to this next one.
This is so old.
This is old school. This has got some yellow pages. I don't agree with everything
Yeah,
Dr.
I
John
think
Gray
there's
says in
some
here.
However,
However, I do think it's wise to be aware that women are unique to women and men are unique to men, that there's some differences.
There is some good communication stuff in there.
Yeah.
We read that right when we moved in together.
Yeah, like
Remember?
right after high school.
And it taught us how to not say certain words.
Yeah.
And it taught us how to like write to each other.
Okay.
I think I wrote a lot of letters to you back in the day.
So this is Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. There's several different updated versions. And, what I got out of this one is just being mindful that...
Would you still recommend that?
Yeah, I would.
Oh.
I think there's things that are in there. There's enough in there that I found helpful to help me fundamentally understand that women are a lot different than men.
Mhm.
Because the temptation is to just assume that women should think like me, where it's like, no, that's ridiculous. It's not true.
Mhm.
God created man and he created woman.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun.
Yeah.
You're by far my favorite person to have on the podcast channel.
hope
So
so.
thank you for your willingness. You'll always be my favorite.
Mhm.
Thanks for sharing today.
Yeah.